Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Musical People Journey's July Festival Part 2! Welcome to my crew, Trish, Rock Chick Trish.
Hello.
I'm Paul. I think I'm going to call you the book because you're so knowledgeable about all the bands, because you're the only one that does in-depth research.
Oracle.
Yeah, the Oracle.
I'm the only one who takes a bit of interest in the band, who they actually are and where they come from, yeah.
The Oracle, the book, Matthews, and, the rock god himself. It's Will!
Good morning.
So normally we have 5. We are missing Sentinal Simon, who's probably still in bed because he's been rocking out, or he might be just having technical problems. But hopefully at some stage he can join us. But we will find out. So as I said, part 2 of the July rock album review, where we did. We've already done 6 album reviews. Today we are going to do another glorious 6 album reviews, but you're also going to be able to catch single album reviews because I'm just getting better and I'm editing. Ooh, look at me go, everybody. So, who we are reviewing today on the show? Oh, it's a mixed bag, people. It's a real mixed bag. We're going to kick off with Venus 5 with a very imaginatively named album, Venus 5. Okay, really cool. There we go. I mean, you can't doubt who the name of the band is and the album on that one. Followed by Seventh Wonder and The Testament, Fallen Sanctuary with Terra Nova. The Dan Reed Network with Let's Share It for the King. So they must be singing about me, of course. As Cival War and Invaders and Coheed and Cumbria. Vaxis Act 2. So, without further ado, and just for the audience, how we do things, we review it and then we rate it out of 5, and these are our personal ratings. We're not professional choppers. We don't chop things down. It's purely our personal preferences and how we personally like the album, and that leads to quite contentious conversations and very strange looks at times, but as you will soon discover. So let's kick off with Venus 5 and Venus 5. Trish, let's start with you. As this is a group of all rock chicks, it would be very, very apt to start with the rock chick. So, what did you think of Venus 5 and Venus 5? Had you heard of them?
Never heard of them. Didn't know whether it was an all-girl group or mixed, so I looked them up, and they're very attractive.
I know, right?
Aren't they? Did they catch your eye?
No, I would not.
No,
I don't do
at
such a
all.
thing, Trish. I'm a good boy.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Right.
Very
Five's
sexy.
attractive appearance hides their symphonic pop metal voices. I found them a little bit akin to Avril Lavigne and a bit of Gwen Stefani. Each track on the album is full on, with overwhelming metal. Good songs like the catchy I'm a Lioness and the operatic Bride with Blackened Eyes. For me, it was a pleasurable listening experience of metal and rock.
Ooh. Young William, now.
Hello.
Young William. Did you do a little bit of research? Did you find an image of this gloriously beautiful band?
I can neither confirm nor deny any of these suspicions. Well, you search the band on Spotify, it happens to have a photo of them in a little bit on the top, so you can't help but not look, and yeah. So, as you may have heard once or twice, I quite enjoy power metal. Shocking news, right?
I know, right?
Who'd have guessed?
Who would have thought it?
Who would have thought it? I really enjoyed it. My one critique that I sort of had was I didn't feel like the voices had that same kind of oomph or power to it for that kind of power metal. So I listened to quite a lot of female-led and female, vocalists in power metal bands, and they always either go full on with the operatic or just have a bit more power and gravitas to their voices. But it was just a really solid album. I love when albums have they're full on for the whole time, just pure power. It's very good, very nice quality.
Paul, how about you? Obviously, a bit of an older generation, and probably are, you're a bit more sedate in terms of the eye candy department. So, yeah, I mean,
well, no, they are pretty girls. There's
good.
no doubt, and there's a reason for it. So Venus 5 have released their self-titled debut album. Okay, let's backtrack a little here. Frontier, the band's label, have put forward this band, in which they put together 5 singers from other bands in their roster. I had the music and lyrics written for them from members of the likes of Def Leppard, Within Temptation, and Kyra. In other words, they've used the boy band formula to create an all-female a power pop metal band. This is the closest you're going to get to a metal Spice Girls. Putting all that aside, though, and it has created a bit of a debate online and so forth, Venus 5 is a strong album. It does have that Eurovision feel, but the songs are powerfully sung, and all the singers sing really well, and the music is up-tempo power metal style, but not going over the top. They even throw in a power ballad, and even though each song starts off with a different intro, after repeated listens, it sounds a bit samey. I can definitely see them being a big crowd puller in the future, though.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think look, this was solid. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as power metal, though. I mean,
power metal.
Yeah, I would go for it. It's certainly maybe borderline on it, but I would put it down as a kind of generic kind of rock or heavy rock, maybe kind of album, really, kind of in that sort of genre rather than out and out power metal. And certainly it was solid, wasn't it? It wasn't. I think the problem here is obviously they're also a victim, for me personally, of coming off the back of Hailstorm. I mean, you can't. It's chalk and cheese from that perspective. Hailstorm, which made our Hall of Fame last month, was just mind-blowing and incredibly varied, and I like my albums to be varied. There wasn't quite enough variation for me to kind of push it beyond the kind of wow, this was an amazing album, but it was enjoyable. It was a solid album. It was good. It was quite listenable too, but it did get a little bit samey and a little bit generic from kind of that fashion there as well. So, but it's solid. It was an enjoyable album. I enjoyed listening to it. But I don't think it made my downloads in terms of really want to listen to that kind of album again. But interesting that is there a debut album. Interesting that they kind of put together. But yeah, it was okay. It was good. It was solid from that perspective. So, right, well, let's get down to the hell yeah, hell no kind of scenarios here then. Well, and will it make our Hall of Fame? Unfortunately, without Simon here, without his votes, which he does have some technical issues, so therefore he will get to kind of vote. We will never quite know whether it will make the Hall of Fame, but we'll understand. I think he would have enjoyed this album, but you never know. Okay, so let's find out our ratings then. So starting with you then, Trish.
4 out of 5.
A 4 out of 5. Are you feeling okay today, Trish? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
not a 5, Trish. You all right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Will?
Solid 3.5.
Solid 3.5. Okay. Paul?
I'm just behind Will, a 3.
A 3? Okay. Well, Will, you'll be delighted to know, Will, that I am right alongside you, my friend.
Oh, great minds think alike.
With a 3.5 as well. So, well, that's pretty solid. That's 7, 10.5, 11, 14. I think it might well get in our. It'd be quite close to our top 20 of the year so far. So that's quite solid. But we'll find out what kind of Simon says on that one. So moving on, everybody. So, as if by magic, Simon has managed to solve his technical issues and join us for the show, and join us for the Venus 5. Venus 5. Hi, Simon.
Hi. Hello. I made it.
We've renamed you Sentinal, Simon, because I decided we were going to have nicknames, but there we are. So we'll go back to your old Sentinel name, the Sentinel of the Rock podcast. Simon, Venus 5. Venus 5, aptly named Venus 5. the beautiful, beautiful, lovely rock chicks. Did they conjure up lovely rock chick images for you?
Yeah, yes, certainly. Obviously, there are pictures all over the front cover, so you can't avoid it too much. But I really enjoyed that album. That was a really pleasant surprise. I usually tend to quite enjoy female-fronted bands anyway, because it's something a bit different in the metal and rock world. But yeah, I thought it was a really good, absolute cracking album. I really enjoyed a lot of the songs. I think some of the lyricism probably needed a bit of work. Some of it was a bit cheesy. Some of the I guess rhyming and stuff was a bit rough, and genuinely took a few what would have been some absolutely cracking songs down a bit for me because the lyrics just seemed a bit rough. But overall, I really enjoyed that album. Actually, I thought it was very, very good.
Would you have known? We were kind of debating that Will was going that the fact he felt it was more kind of power metal, and I'm going, I don't think it was quite really power metal. It was kind of maybe kind of edging towards that, but it was more kind of power rock in or just generic heavy rock, really. So
I think I'd say it's power metal. There's probably a couple of the tracks I can't think off the top of my head the names of them later in the album that maybe aren't as much in the genre, but I definitely say they're just solid power metal entry.
I think I was saying that they suffered a bit off the back of the fact that we just fell in love with Hailstorm last month,
yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
And that's the kind of height that you're kind of reaching for. So, Simon, what would be in your rating then? Hell yeah, hell no.
So hell yeah, I think actually for me they are going to get a 4.
A 4.
Mm.
Why? Well, that's the second 4. Trish give it a 4, no 5. You'll be shocked to find that she didn't give that a 5, Simon. We're a bit in shock about that. So, right, well, that's 7, 10.5, 14.5, 15, 18. 18 people would, well, just looking at my kind of notes here, 18, that's about a 3.8 or something, isn't it? I think that's going to could well make our top 10 albums of the year so far. I think it was kind of a nicely, everybody kind of liked it, nobody disliked it. So, okay, right, well, so we're back and we're moving on to the next album on our wonderful list, which is... now then, keep your suspense. Well, it's Seventh Wonder, and it's the band album is called The Testament. So, Paul, was this a testament to you? Was this the seventh wonder of the rock album world for you?
No, wasn't the seventh wonder. No,
really?
No. They're a Swedish prog metal band who it seems like to take their time in creating an album. It's been 4 years since their last album, Tiara, which was a concept album, and that was after an 8-year hiatus from the previous one. However, unlike Tiara, you won't find any tales of female astronauts on Terra Nova, which is a shame, really. But we can't have everything.
Is it next to Venus 5? They need to jump on their spacecraft and nip over there.
No, Tiara. You need to go to Tiara for the female space astronauts, and the adventures they get up to. The musicianship is superb, and although you can class the songs as a mixture of prog rock and power metal, the balance is finely tuned. Neither seems to overrun and ruin a song. We've listened to some prog bands over the last couple of months, some dire ones, and for me, this is probably the best of the bunch, especially since none of the songs are overly long, including the instrumental Reflections.
So you're saying this is a prog rock album? You reckon in your mind this is a prog rock album?
Prog metal album.
Okay, interesting. You're nodding your head there, Will?
Yeah, prog metal.
Prog metal.
I agree as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've written down. Swedish progressive metal band.
Yeah,
It's the metal of the future.
The metal of the future. Oh God!
Now.
Please. Oh, right. So what did you think of it, Will?
I really enjoyed it. For me, this was the... Oh, I dropped something. For me, it's my probably second most listened to album of all the ones from this month. I thought, was it Warriors, the first song?
Yeah.
Was a fantastic opening song. It really gives you sort of the whole vibe of what the album's going to be. Hits you with that power, The singer's voice is fantastic. I really liked it. Instruments, great. Very, very enjoyable solos. And, oh yeah. This is, again, yeah, this is what metal's going to be.
Have you heard of them before?
I'd never heard of them, but I've heard of quite a few bands who have this same kind of sound. But it's definitely something that I've listened to more than most of the other bands this month. Very
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to apologise. The album wasn't Terra Nova. That's the band that's coming up next.
That's right. Yeah.
The Testament. Yeah,
it was a Testament. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were lost in Spaceport.
I was lost, spun out. Disoriented.
You sunk into some sort of gravity well.
Yeah, believe me, I was sinking.
So, talking about gravity wells and coming out of a gravity well, Simon.
Sure. I really I did enjoy the album. I did enjoy listening through it. Some of the songs were really good. As Will said, I really loved Warriors. I really loved, I think it's Invincible, which is later in the album. I think there's like a fantastic guitar solo towards the second half of it. I'm not sure what it is though. Something about the album misses for me. I can't put my finger on what it is. I'm not sure. I don't like about it. I don't know if it's his voice, because it's quite good. It is very good, but sometimes it's a little screechy. I don't know if it is that sort of prog rock element of, sort of overly long. I know I've just praised one, but some of the overly long guitaring moments. I'm not sure. There's just something that doesn't, for me personally, doesn't quite gel together for it. And I just can't put my finger on what it is, but I enjoyed it overall, though.
Trish, was this a testament for you?
Like I said, Swedish progressive metal band. The album opens hard and heavy with a bit of blues and jazz. Warriors is a mid-tempo metal anthem. The album itself is filled with plenty of memorable hooks, warm melodies, and excellent choruses. It's a good album of theirs to listen to if you haven't heard any Seventh Wonder music before, and you may want to delve into some of their back catalogue afterwards.
Okay. Kind of interesting, really, guys, because I don't understand how we can label certain types of genres of music, because I purely put this as solid power metal. I mean, we reviewed Porcupine Tree, which is which was very much kind of classed as a prog metal kind of band, really. But I can't understand how you can put this into, how you could possibly say this is a prog metal, because like, what constitutes prog metal? Can somebody answer me that, as to why you would put this, you would say this is prog metal? Why? What constitutes prog metal?
I may not know the most about genres, but usually it's sort of a fusion of rock metal with more of that aggressive kind of sound, whereas power metal is sort of more the big powerful vocals, solos, usually sing about dragons and unicorns and pirates fighting in space with laser beams shooting out of their unicorns' tails, and it's kind of like a fusion. Rather than being heavy metal as purely heavy metal, you can tell what it is. It's that very distinctive sound. It's sort of fusing elements from heavy metal, rock, into more of a wide thing. So it's one of those things where it's harder to identify that as a genre, because it's not really a genre. It's sort of lots of things merged into one weird abomination of a genre.
Well, yeah, I mean, does anybody want to add to that, Simon? It's your.
I mean, there's definitely a certain sound, and forgive me, I'm completely tone deaf, but there's definitely a certain sound that makes you think, oh, this is prog. Maybe there's a particular set of chords or something that it is that I could never identify, but there's definitely a certain sound that makes me hear a certain particular guitar style that I hear and go, oh, that is prog rock.
Yeah. I mean, if you can compare like Porcupine Tree, which was prog metal, which was prog rock, I wouldn't call it metal. It was very much experimental. There was lots of kind of different instruments, and it did go on a little bit. But I was just kind of I'm just kind of interested, really, in terms of how you would. Anyway, what did I think? I think I'm kind of going along with Simon. I think this was a really solid album. Again, it was, it wasn't like outstanding, but it wasn't naff either. There were some great moments. There were some magical moments in this. Warriors was a good song. There were some really, and again, similar to, there was some terrific guitar riffs in there. There were some magical moments in there. But I think I'm along with Simon. I kind of feel I should love this album, and it's not that I love it. I dislike it. I don't. I actually enjoyed it. It was a really solid effort. Would I listen to it again? Yeah, probably would. Did I download it? No. Is it something I really want to listen to again, over and over again? Probably not. But I did enjoy it. So yeah, pretty solid effort. So okay. So let's find out our ratings then. Will.
4 and a 5, with a point somewhere in between.
4 and a 5. I'm going. You can't have it. You have one another.
With a point somewhere between them.
Somewhere 4.5. Wow, that's really good for you, Will. Paul. So while Paul unmutes himself, Trish.
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. I'm going to leave you to last now for that, Paul. Simon.
It's very rare I do this, but a 3.5.
A 3.5. Yeah, you don't like your 0.5, do you?
No, I don't. But this is definitely the deserving of a 0.5.
Definitely, Paul.
Yeah, a 3.5.
3.5. It got a 3.5 from me as well. Funny enough. Oh, close, guys. Close, I think. Close. 3.5 is 7, 10.5, 12. Hold on a minute. 11, 15, 19. Oh, definitely top 20 album of the year so far. Not quite making it our Hall of Fame though, but certainly it might even make our top 20 of all time. Which is pretty solid. So it's amazing when we all kind of solidly agree on an album.
Obviously, it can all change, but I'm quite afraid by just how in sync our scores have been so far. This is wrong. Normally, it's me slamming the song because it's indie and I hate it.
Well, that's because Chris
someone else.
That's because Chopper Dunnins and Grenade Nathan is not here. We call him the Grenade, I think. So anyway, so far it's been a pretty solid opening too, really, but. What comes next, people? Well, next, let me tell you who is next. We're going back into space. We're going back into space with Fallen Sanctuary and their album Terra Nova. Did this bring up a conjure terror for you, Trish? Did it? Was it? Or did it take you back to outer space and the rock god heavens?
I think I am in outer space. Right, let me have a look here. So this is an up-tempo power metal with lots of melodies and emotional tunes. I found it the kind of album to play when you're a bit down and lonely, as the opener and the title track Terra Nova with its super fast drumming and guitars lifts you up. It's an album that's mixed with ballads in the album Wait For Me, Stay with acoustic guitars. Broken Dreams, whose title speaks for itself, is totally power ballad. An album that makes you want more.
Simon, did this leave you wanting more, or did you want to fall down and not crawl out the sanctuary?
Yes. This is another sort of really. I really enjoyed the album. I particularly liked it when the band tried to be a little bit heavier on some of the tracks. It's more of a personal preference, but I do like the sort of. I do veer more towards the heavy side of metal. I think in particular, I can't remember the names of the songs now. Yeah, I really enjoyed the album. Some of the singing was a bit of a miss for me. Sometimes his voice went a bit off and sort of missed on a few songs. They also seemed a bit short. I'm not sure if that's just me or just where I saw it, but the songs just seemed a little short. But yeah, overall, I quite enjoyed it. It's a good album.
Paul, Terra Nova. Fallen Sanctuary, Paul.
Fallen Sanctuary, Terra Nova, which one died?
Well, the album's Terra Nova, the band's Fallen Sanctuary. It's all mixed in. It was all a mixed bag.
It doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, does it matter really?
Doesn't
I
matter,
mean,
no.
you know. Oh, sorry, Paul. We're reviewing the Testament now.
Okay. On the Sanctuary, right? A brand new band comprising of Serenity vocalist George Newhouser and Tempest vocalist guitarist Marco Pastoroni. And if I'm merging these names, I don't care really. That's how I'm going to pronounce them. On first listen, you think, here we go again, another duo power band that have an overactive use of a drum machine. I mean, when will these people realize that a good drummer can make a good band, you know? A great band, sorry. On careful listening, though, the album is a lot more than that. It's a mixture of power metal, melodic metal, AOR, and includes 2 power ballads, of which Broken Dreams is far the better and possibly the best track on the album. If this album ended at 10 tracks, it would have been a solid offering. But the addition of a weak bonus track and 3 instrumental versions of the tracks on the album just drag it out far too long.
Oh well, let's go to our power metal guru then. Was this a Fallen Sanctuary for you, mate? Did this blast you off? Did you want to go to Terra Nova, Will?
Bit of a long way to go, isn't it? Bit far
Would
away.
be.
I don't really know the way. So back to the difference between the genres. I'd forgotten, but the perfect example of what power metal is when you listen to like the first 10 seconds of Terra Nova, when it's that very like sort of distorted, obnoxiously fast guitar with just pure drum. That's probably power metal. I really liked, again, it's metal, and I have slight bias because I really like metal. It was very good. The vocalist, like Simon said, there were quite a few times where the voice just sort of grated on me, and it didn't really feel like it was fitting properly with everything that was going on. But it's just a sort of solid good album. It did kind of make me want to listen to better power metal, and when there's bands like Dragon Force and Glory Hammer, there's better power metal out there, but it's solid, decent.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't think it was solid at all. I thought it was very poor in comparison to the things that we've listened to kind of recently, and even when we come up to kind of Cival War and Pirates, and I felt this. I mean, I know power metal is cliche, but there is ways of doing cliche, and this was really cliche. I mean, and it wasn't. You're absolutely right. His voice was not good. I got bored. I got bored of this album. Actually, I didn't think it was great. It was really solidly produced. There was some good guitar riffs in there, but it was distinctly average. A very average kind of power metal band in comparison to what is currently out there, and it just didn't work for me. There was just too many pause right. I'd say this welcome. The voice wasn't great. The only saving grace was some of the musically it was solid, but just nothing really kind of fitted in for me. And I'd say I love my power metal, but it's got to be good. Anyway, so distinctly average for me. Not the best out there, that's for sure, in terms of the power metal. So, right, okay, let's find out our ratings then. Trish,
4 out of 5.
You're on a 4 run. You're liking your 4s, Trish. Simon.
I think I'm going to go with a 3 for this one.
3. Paul.
3 for me too as well.
3 for me. And Will.
3.5.
3.5.
Love my 0.5s.
2.5 for me. 2.5. Well, as I kept going, it was average, so it gets a very distinctly average kind of score. 7, 10.5, 14.5. I mean, it's still got 6, 17. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, we are very kind of forgiving. I think we, as I say, we haven't got the choppers on this podcast. So okay, so moving swiftly on, we move into the next band on stage. So next on stage then is Dan Reed Network and Let's Cheer It for the King. Paul, we're gonna start with you on this one. Who the heck is Dan Reed Network? Never heard of him. Tell the world.
Not many people have, to be honest. DRN, which is short for Dan Reed Network, originally from Portland, Oregon, in the US, obviously. And that is because most of this success was in the 80s. They received rave reviews from Rolling Stone magazines and supported the likes of Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, and the Rolling Stones on tour through the late 1980s and early 90s. However, with poor promotion from their record company, it all came down to the band being shelved by the members in 1993 to pursue other interests. DRN reformed in 2013, nearly 2 decades after the last album. And this album, Let's Hear It for the King, is their first release since they reformed. DRN can only be classed as hard-edged funk rock. It is unique and clearly influenced artists like Eagle-Eyed Cherry. The songs are quite diverse, with probably Supernova being the standout. Not to say this album is flawless. The title track is far too long, and the ballad I See Angels doesn't really fit in with the other songs. If you haven't listened to DRN before, this album wouldn't be a bad place to start.
Wow. Okay. Will, so this was very much a change of pace, really, from what were the first 3. Slightly different. Was it different enough for you to chop it down, or did you enjoy?
If you haven't listened to this album before, don't. I hated it.
Why?
There was nothing in it that interested me. It was really boring. The vocalist, I didn't really like. The instruments, the guitar, I didn't like it. I want to know who this king is that they're hearing it for, because, I mean, if I was having this song played for me, I would just lop their heads off. It was hardly worthy of me listening to it more than barely twice. It was just a bit boring, wasn't it? So you go from powerful prog metal, power metal, exciting stuff to this, and it's nah.
Oh, Will, not quite your cup of tea then.
It's a bit bad, isn't it?
Wow, matter of opinion. Let's find out. Simon.
I wasn't going to be quite as savage as that, but
I think we've lacked a bit of savagery though so far on the show, haven't we? Simon, we'll come back to you. Trish, Simon's having a coughing fit.
He is, bless him. Paul pretty much summed it up for me, actually, and I apologise that I'm going to repeat some of what he has said. The opening track, Pretty Karma, opens with a gnarly beat, then the riff kicking in with a catchy chorus. Supernova is definitely a guilty pleasure with its poppy feel. Starlight is bouncy. The title track, Let's Hear It for the King, is loaded with attitude. This album is cleverly put together with heavy riffs with added saxophone to funk it up. An excellent album, and as I've not listened to Dan Reed Network, it's a great album to start with and is well worth giving a listen to if you've never even heard of them.
So, go back then to Simon. Simon has recovered from his bit of a coughing fit there. No worries,
Yeah,
that's not a
sorry.
problem, Simon. It happens. So, what do you think of Dan Reed?
I was choking on how boring it is. Had to do it. I wanted to like this, but it just no part of it stuck with me. Nothing grasped me in it. I did like the divergency in the tracks. I did like that it sort of mixed things up a bit, but it's just, I don't know. It's just a bit droll in a way for metal and for rock for me. And also I really didn't like the singer. Just didn't enjoy that at all. So Yeah, unfortunately, I just sort of met the album, and I, as similar to Will, I didn't really make it more than 2 playthroughs of it. It wasn't terrible. I wasn't going to be quite as cruel as Will was, but it just nothing on it particularly resonated for me.
See, you guys, Will, you're stuck in this kind of like,
Start listening to good music. What can I say?
Well, this was good music. This was good music, mate. This was a very cool album. Really super cool album. I like variation in the music, and this had lots of really cool variation. Did I absolutely love it? No. Did I really like it? Yes. It was a cool album. There was lots of variations in it. I really like Let's Hear It for the King. I thought it was a really cool song. That made my kind of playlist. You're absolutely right. Supernova was quite cool. Still like it wasn't like outstanding, but it was just really. It was a really enjoyable listen. And it was really nice. It was a super cool album. I think that as I say, I think it was good. I really enjoyed the album, and I think probably my favourite album of the stage, to be perfectly honest with you, without blowing everything what's coming. It was good. I enjoyed it. I really did. A very cool album. So let's find out our ratings then, Paul. 3. Will.
1.5.
1.5. Simon.
2.5.
2.5. Trish.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 for Trish. 5 for Trish. It's her first 5, everybody. She's been really she's held it back. All right, 3 4, but first 5, that's fine. Got a 4. Got a 4 from me. It was, solidly cool album. So 8, 12, 14.5, 15, 16. Got over the magic 15 number. That's a good score. That's a really good score. But there we go. So, right, well, we're coming. And so we do move on. As I say, we're getting quite closer now. Oh, we're going to see the smiles on Simon and Will's faces here as we move on to Cival War and Invaders. Well, of course, I'm going to have to start with you, but I'm not going to. Simon, we'll leave you to last, Will. I think you can have the rebuttal. Should there be rebuttals needed? Simon, tell us, Cival War, who the heck are they?
You sure you want to move on to me?
Yeah, because I can look at him. Look at his little face. Look, he's dying. He's dying to tell the world, to share his love. Or we could just leave it a little bit longer.
Yeah, I won't spoil that for him. I absolutely loved this album. Absolutely cracking album. Very much enjoyed it. Very much enjoyed what they do. I can't pick out a particular song at the moment because I just can't remember them. But yeah, I absolutely loved what this album did. I really like their style. It's just great fun. So yeah, I could wax lyrical about it all day, but it's the same sentiment. So
do you know who they are?
I might have an idea, but I won't say.
Why not? Have a guess. Who are they?
Do I have to have a guess? Let's have a guess.
Oh, what do you think you know?
I think I might know.
Well,
but I'll keep tight-lipped for now.
Well, let's go to the guru, shall we? Let's go to the fountain of all knowledge in this department, and let's find out who they are. Paul.
Oh, right. I thought it was going to go to Will.
I know, right?
Yeah. Okay, so 10 years ago, when Cival War was formed by when guitarist Richard Senden, Oscar Montealias, drummer Michael Mulbach, and keyboard player Daniel Muir, all founding members of Sabaton, left. Yeah. That's why Will is so excited in his chair. Only Mulbach and remain, having picked up 2 guitarists along the way and a new vocalist, Kelly Sundown Carpenter, for this album. Carpenter has a Dixon vibe to his voice, especially with the I can't even say it now. End of the world tales of Invaders, of the previous.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Apocalyptical. Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, apocalyptical tales of invaders and of the pre and post colonized North America continent. But his range is immense. This is power metal on a par with Sabaton. It is well crafted, full of raging guitar solos. The keyboard adds a level of grandeur to the power metal gallop of the rhythm section. And you don't feel it using a drum machine, which is my bugbear about some of these power metal bands. However, tracks are varied, and while I would say more varied than Sabaton, and while Invaders and Battle of Life are standout tracks, Andersonville is a slow track about the capture of a Union soldier and his incarceration at the prison of war camp in 1864. As a bonus for the 10th anniversary, the band have re-recorded Custer's Last Stand as additional content. However, it isn't a very strong track in my opinion. And while the album is less powerful than last year's album, this year's album by Sabaton, which is probably more thematic, it is not far off in scope and power. But what it lacks in this sense, Invaders more than makes up in the variety of its music, especially for a power metal offering.
Right, okay, let's put him out of his misery then. Trish.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that, really. My opening line was a Swedish power metal band singing about war. Then you're probably thinking about Sabaton. Little did I know that this is the outcome. Cival War, Invaders. Get right into the album with Oblivion, and the album continues its power metal gallop. Invaders is a fine example of modern version power metal. I absolutely loved it.
I think I might know what's coming. So let's move on to the next. No, I'm joking. Will.
You sure you don't want to go first, Nigel?
No,
Yeah,
no,
sure?
no, absolutely not. Will. So you obviously were aware that this band is full of ex-Sabaton members. On a par.
I've known of Cival War for a number of years. Listening to them since I think about 2017, 2018 was when I first heard them. And I always thought before they had a big problem where they did just sound like Sabaton 2.0, which is not a problem. But I feel with this album and the sort of newer lineup has sort of helped them distance themselves from that more. They don't sound quite as samey, and they sort of branch out and getting more of a unique sound. But what I'm about to say is not going to help with that. Because one of the most recent additions to the band, Torbjorn England, who was former lead guitarist for Sabaton, left Sabaton a few years ago and is now lead guitarist for Cival War, who is also an incredibly talented guitarist. And oh my god, this album was fantastic. Things like Oblivion, Heart of Darkness, Warrior's Soul, there is not a single song that I was not subconsciously finding myself headbanging along to. Oh god, I love them. And it's nice to, obviously, Sabaton, a lot of their songs are more Eurocentric with their theming, and a lot of Cival War, hence the name, is based on more North American history. With obviously Heart of Darkness obviously being based on the story of the same name, and I think Invaders based on the struggle of the Native Americans fighting against the colonization of America in the beginning, which fun stories. I love heavy metal. Hello. This is good. More, please.
So the question I'm going to ask then to you, in terms of the knowledge that you have, is why have so many people left Sabaton?
A lot of it is they've, and especially with Tob England, he'd been with Sabaton for years and years and wanted to leave to do something different, to sort of find their own sound, which is the reason a lot of people have. They want to do something just different, and possibly, the themes. Obviously, know a lot about American history, North American history, and want to explore themes like that and do their own thing. But I think it was more he left, started doing all the solo things. Don't think it worked out quite as well as he wanted, and was like, oh well.
Go to
That
Civil
was
War.
I
Go
know
to
these
Civil
people
War.
already. I'll go.
Perhaps he didn't. Perhaps he didn't want to write songs and sing about World War One anymore.
Oh well.
A
There's
possibility.
a lot of good stories about World War One.
Yeah.
A lot of good history there.
What do I think about it? I think this is a very poor man's Sabaton. I really do. I just like. Yeah, it was okay. It was solid. It was nothing fantastic. The Custard song was bloody awful. I mean, awful. It was just absolutely cliche, poor singing. It was dire. It was just awful. It really, really was. Yes, it was solid enough. Yes, it was okay. It doesn't. I chuckle when you say about finding their own sound. Really? Well, I'm sorry, but this was Sabaton 2.0, all written all over it. Yeah, the songs, the subject matter might well be different, but you cannot compare. You cannot compare the Sabaton album, which was just out of this world, to even put this on the same podium as that. Not even close to the same podium as it. It was just a million miles off it. A million miles off it. I didn't really particularly like the lead singer. I don't think he was fantastic. He was okay, but I just this is in comparison a very poor man's Sabaton by a long way. You can't even if you rate this as a 5, right? Which you're probably going to do. That means you are rating it alongside the one of the best albums of the year. And for me, this doesn't even come close to it. Not even close to it. But then again, we do rate it based on how we feel about the album in time, and we really probably shouldn't compare against it. But unfortunately, yeah, I do. It was okay. It was nothing special from that side. Certainly better than Terra Nova, by the way. But but yeah, there was a couple of really weak tracks, and I'm particularly, I'm like, if somebody puts a cover in or that sort of stuff, I really hate it. But particularly the Custard song was so dire. It was just Iron Maiden. It was a poor man's. It was even a poor man's Iron Maiden. From that perspective. But anyway, so let's kind of find out where our kind of ratings are then. So Simon.
I think I'm going to give it a 5.
So you put it alongside the Sabaton album from earlier this year, which was just outstanding.
I didn't get to vote on that one, remember?
Oh, that's a poor excuse, but I'll take it. It's a 5. Paul.
It's a 4 from me.
A 4. Shock, Trish.
It's a 5 from me.
So you're putting it alongside the Sabaton album, as good as the Sabaton album from earlier this year.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing it to that.
Well,
I'm
you should
listening
do.
to
You
it.
should do.
I shouldn't do anything. I do what I want.
I'm joking.
Well, I think I give Sabaton 4 last as well.
Yeah.
For me, Sabaton weren't. I couldn't put them on the same pedestal as Volbeat. So
Yeah. Will.
Saying if we have to compare this to Sabaton, then every album I review has to be labelled as well. So I need to change all my other album reviews to 1s.
Are you doing an Ian?
No, I mean it's a 5. I love it. That's the problem when you rate something just out of 5, though. See, it's such a small range of numbers, and it's not worthy of being just good with a 4. And a 5 is excellent. It's an excellent album, but it's not as excellent as Sabaton. You see, a 5 is just excellent. 3 is all right. 4 is good. 5 is excellent. Thus, it's not being comparable. It's just.
Thank you,
know,
Will. I love you, Will.
I just can't. It's a 3 from me. So
It's just a factual.
Yeah, it definitely. I suppose at the time, if you're listening to an album and you can't help yourself compare it, which reduces your enjoyment of that album, then yeah. And I found it because I obviously knew that. Maybe that was the stigma of it, but yeah, no, it was a 3 for me. However, guys, 15, 18, 22. puts it right up there. Congratulations, Cival War and Invaders. You have officially entered into our Hall of Fame. Massively, I tell you what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to do a quick calculation to see whether it's beaten Volbeat. I don't think it would have done, but let's have a look. 4.4? No, it's not our top rated album of the year. So, but there we go. So, anyway, well, how can we follow that? So, our headline act. Can we manage to defeat, to follow our Hall of Fame, new Hall of Fame with Cival War and Invaders? Well, our ultimate act is Coheed and Cumbria, and the album is Vaxis Act 2. Trish, I'm going to start with you on this one. Because I've heard of Coheed and Cumbria. I presume you've heard of Coheed and Cumbria.
Yeah, I've listened to one of their albums before. So Vaxis Act 2 is an elaborate concept album on ongoing sci-fi storyline, now spanning 9 of their 10 studio albums. The Liars Club and A Disappearing Act. Pure pop punk. The first 2/3 of the album are consistently bangers, but its closing 3 songs, I don't know, seemed to let it down for me. It didn't give me anything, and I then lost interest in it. It was okay. It sets the stage for the next chapter, but I don't know whether I want to listen to the next chapter.
Oh. So, Will, from the very heights then of power metal, what did Coheed and Cumbria do anything for you? Yeah, I mean, I know that Nathan's recommended this album a few times, and some of their stuff's been pretty good. But was this your cup of tea?
So I did like it, but you know how we just said about not comparing albums to other bands? If anyone's ever heard of Starset, I spent a long time in this album thinking it sounds a lot like Starset.
Yeah.
With that same kind of, I can't describe it, that same kind of sound that just kind of made me listen to Starset instead.
Yeah.
The album, for me, it's just a bit long, isn't it? I mean, obviously the first track's an intro, just pure sound, which I do like an album, but 13 tracks is a bit much. It was a good album, good music, good enough vocals. It was alright. Again, I think I'd just rather listen to Starset though, if I had to listen to something of this same kind of weird, spacey, punky, rocky stuff.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Yeah. Paul, Coheed and Cumbria, who are apparently not Welsh.
They're not Welsh. They're a band from New York. They were formed back in 1995 and have been termed as a progressive punk rock or a post-hardcore band. Vaxis 2 demonstrates this, but on times has a much more poppy feel to it, especially with the electronica that visits some of the tracks. The album is a continuation of the Armory Wars saga that started with the Colour Before the Sun album from 2015 and the 2018 Vaxis Act 1, The Heavenly Creatures. Unfortunately, I didn't have access to, and I blame you for this, Nigel, I didn't have access to the 96-page novel that comes with, accompanies, the deluxe edition, which has a deep reading of the lyrics to explain the theme of the album. So, taken on face value, I would say the Vaxis 2 has grown on me. The lyrics and music composition are tight. It has not been overproduced, and the vocalist Claudio Sanchez is very emotive. I just have to find the novels now to understand what Vaxis is about. Maybe they're selling it on their UK tour in October.
Simon, Coheed and Cumbria. Have you heard of them? Have you listened to them? Do you like them?
No, I've been following Coheed along the whole time. I very much enjoyed this band. I really enjoyed the album. It was definitely very pop punk. There was quite a shift in style compared to some of their previous stuff. But I really enjoyed it. Comatose was a great track. Really liked that. The singer's just absolutely beautiful sound. His voice just carries so well, and I think it carries quite a few of the tracks. But yeah, unfortunately, it is a massive concept album, and it is following along the Amory Wars, which, if you haven't read the graphic novels or listened to all the tie-in stuff, then yes, it's very confusing, and it's a very confusing story anyway. But yeah, so I enjoyed it, but it wasn't perfect. It wasn't. I didn't think it was. I don't know. It's not their strongest out. It's not their strongest album. So yeah.
My inside man on Coheed Cumbria, who has probably read everything to do with them, which is Nathan, of course, tells me that they normally do a really bad album and then a really good album, and they kind of alternate. You're right. I wouldn't necessarily say this was punk, but incredibly pop influenced. Incredibly pop. I even wrote down, if Pet Shop Boys did rock, this would be their album. You know, and there was one moment, I think, in Liars Club where he keeps repeating, "Annie, are you okay?" And I'm going, Jesus, so I changed the music a little bit, and this is Michael Jackson. You know, so incredibly pop influence, and therefore, I kind of like it mixed up. What I like from an album is to rather than mix genres within the actual song, to mix the songs up a little bit and kind of bring different types of music to the table per song. I think what they were trying to do here is mix that up within the actual song itself, and it kind of got lost a little bit. And you're right, if you don't, we talked about concept albums in the past, and if you don't do your research, you know, or some sort of even a small bit of narration to set the kind of scene for you to kind of get into that world, it's very, very difficult to follow lyrically then as well. But I didn't have a clue it was a concept album, and therefore it just kind of got lost on me entirely. So it was okay. It was just okay. It wasn't. You're right. There were certain magical moments, like his voice and the Comatose, and there are certain moments musically as well where the album is carried, but it does outstay its welcome, and it does get lost in kind of this kind of, well, is it a poppy kind of rock album? Is it pop? Is it punk pop rock? It just kind of gets a little bit lost in its direction, I think. And yeah, you're absolutely right. So yeah, but anyway, so Pet Shop Boys does rock. This is the album that they would make. It would be my final analysis on that. So. Right, well, let's find out whether it's going to hit our Hall of Fame or not then. So, Will?
I like it less knowing that there's comics and books that explain what's actually going on. Because if it's a concept album, the album should be able to tell the story on its own rather than needing books and things to explain everything else, which has rather soured my opinion even more to this. So I'm going down from a 3 to a 2.5.
No,
it's only half a jump, but it's no.
Well, we just
annoys me when people do that. They can't write a good enough story in that; they have to supplement it with other things. It's lazy.
It's interesting. I had this debate with Dave on an album a couple of months ago as to what. If it's telling, I think you're wrong and you're right there. I think if it's a concept album, I believe there should be some narration, some sort of spoken dialogue that sets the scene for you, even right at the beginning. So at least you kind of know and kind of can get into the flavour of it. If it's telling a story of a well-known, so let's imagine you're telling the story of Lord of the Rings, for example. You already kind of know that story, and then therefore you can leave it to your imagination. Whereas a concept album, it's very much a story of their thoughts and imagination. Therefore, I think that there should be some sort of guide in it. There should be some sort of guide into that universe. So, but yeah,
like you listen to a band like Glory Hammer, which again, space, power metal. They have 3 albums. Each album, they're all following a large story. Just by listening to that one album, you can understand everything that's going on in the story of the album, because they've written the songs in such a way you can actually understand the story. And if you can't write that in the album and in comics and things, it's just be better, write better.
Trish?
3 out of 5.
Paul?
3.5.
Sorry, 3.5?
Yep.
Simon?
3.5.
3.5. It's not bad, is it? It's a 3 from me. I think I was on the lines of you, Will. So 6.5, 7, 9, 12.5. It's got 15.5. It's still got over that kind of 15 number, which would suggest it's a good album, and certainly kind of worth listening to. Right, well, that sums up. We have a Hall of Fame, which is Cival War and Invaders, and a very strong Hall of Fame. It just didn't creep across; it burned its way across. So let's finish off the show. Let's remind ourselves. Did you guys go to any concerts? Let's find out. Have you been to any concerts in the last month? Anybody?
Not in the last month, but a few coming up very soon.
Yes. Well, who have you got coming up soon, Will?
I have got metalcore band Electric Callboy in September, Battle Beast also in September. Oh yes.
Oh yes, Battle Beast.
So, good news. I've been waiting for some action on Download, and Sky Arts have just released a 2-part highlights of Download, which I was watching last night. So that's well worth a watch. I've been really starved of that. It's been really annoying me, and I was watching Ball Beat and that sort of stuff as well. And I haven't watched both of them yet, but I tell you what, it was a Welsh band I really like called Skinred, which is I thoroughly enjoyed their performance. I thought they were fantastic. So it's really cool. Well worth a watch on that one. So Sky Arts and the Download highlights were pretty cool. So okay, well, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for for all your efforts, everybody, and hopefully you all come back next month.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've got a really interesting lineup next month, haven't we? A bit more varied. So there we go. Right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for joining me, and keep on rocking, keep safe, and we will see you next month as we continue our musical journey.
Bye.
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 Bye.